Welcome back everyone to Zombie's Garage. You never know what you're going to find late in the day on Facebook Marketplace and for real cheap. And if you're quick on it, you can get it before anybody else grabs it. So we grabbed ourselves a small dirt bike here. We're going to get this inside the garage, get it under some light and see what we have and what we can do with it. But everything's there, minus the carburetor. Carburetor's in a box, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's get this in the garage and get under some light and get some work done to it. So we'll see you here in a second. Hey everyone, welcome back to Zombie's Garage. Here is the new purchase you saw here in the preview. It is one of those Chinese dirt bikes. This is a SSR 70, otherwise known as like a Teo, or they go under a bunch of different other names. Basically, we bought this thing for a project for my son. So let's flip around and we'll go through what we have here and what we need to do to make sure this is a good dirt bike. So let's flip the camera around. All right, everybody. So here's what we're working with. It's in overall good shape. Everything's there. Plastics are not in bad shape. There's some crack. We're going to replace all the plastics anyways because they're only like $25 for new ones. Why not? As we walk around the bike real quick, this is my son's Christmas present. We're going to try to make this thing look brand new and run brand new. It does have compression. It does have spark. It does pop off with starting fluid, so that's a good sign. Valves probably need adjusting. Not a big deal because we're going to pull the motor out and re-clean up everything and repaint everything. But he doesn't know this is his Christmas present. I haven't told him about it. All he knows is this is a project for me. And I told him if he helps me out, I'll get him a new dirt bike so he can learn to ride. The reason why I'm going with an old dirt bike, let's try to get that light back up on there. The reason I'm going with an old dirt bike, he's a 10-year-old kid. He's fickle. He might be into dirt bikes for right now, but a year down the road, if he stops caring about it, do I really want to buy an expensive dirt bike for him not to care about? No, I don't. So we're going to start with these wheels. Well, we're not going to start with these wheels, but this tire still has some air on it. The other back tire doesn't, so we're probably going to replace both tubes. The rubber's not in bad shape. It's not dry rotted or cracked, but we are going to remove these rims and repaint them, get all this rust off of there. He doesn't know this is going to be his dirt bike, but he will be helping me with this project because I believe if he is forced to help me with it, it'll have him better appreciate what it takes for these machines and take better care of it himself. Exhaust, okay, took a good hit. It's got a pretty solid kink right there. A little dent right there, but the bolt or stud that's supposed to be here is snapped off inside the head, so we're going to have to drill and extract that out. The other side is still on there. Right there, but I got a new exhaust on the way because I'm not even gonna fight with this. I got a whole performance exhaust. It's gonna get me like a whole probably not any more power. Not gonna joke myself on that one. Everything else seems to be in good shape though. There's no major damage to anything. The front brake is shot. The sight glass there is made out of plastic. It's broken. It's leaking fluid. Same with the rear brake. Same thing. The chain is shot, obviously being rusted as it is, but they said they snapped the chain. They ran a screw and bolt through there to hold it together. This stuff hits on anything that's in here, like the chain guides here. So we're going to get rid of that. Obviously, when the chain guide broke, it damaged the cover here. It should be just the Magneto under here. There should be dry, so I don't have to worry about oil leaking out. So we might just leave this as is. The carburetor. The original reason they stopped using this dirt bike is started leaking gas, which is a pretty common thing for these things. The floats get stuck. So the new carburetors are only like $10, $15 for them, so most people usually swap it out. He went to rebuild it, and apparently he lost most of the parts to it. Luckily, I have a couple spares laying around. This one's a brand new one that I ended up not using. We've got our valve adjustment on top and bottom. We'll adjust that. Got new plastics. We've got a new fuel tank because the bolt broke. I had to drill the bolt off of here because the insert in here is just spinning into plastic. And plus this gas tank's all full of crud. No big deal. We'll just replace it. It's only like $10. Usually I don't like throwing stuff away, but when the price is so cheap, why not? We've already got the plastics unbolted here. We got new grips on the way. We got a new kill switch on the way. I jammed a screwdriver in here. Basically, there's a plug that sits around your wrist. If you fall off your dirt bike, it yanks off the this out and it kills the dirt bike, so it doesn't run on its side and kill the motor. I just ran a screw in there. That way I could test for spark compression and see if it will pop off under ether, which it will. That's pretty much it. We're going to start getting this thing disassembled to get my son out here helping me out. And we'll get to work on this thing. And hopefully he'll learn a thing or two and appreciate what I do for him. So give me a moment. We'll get this camera set up. We'll get my son in here and we'll get to work. Alright, so we got the seat and the rear plastics off. We're going to get this tank off. We got a bolt there, bolt there. I believe that is it for that. We're going to get this exhaust off. We got a bolt here. The other side of the stud there, we're going to get that off out of the way. And then we're going to start unhooking the wiring going to the engine here. Let's go to the other side here. It looks like it runs right up there to a plug harness. Because I'm going to take it back off the stand. I'm going to take the engine out. Let me see. Plus, we're going to get these wheels off, which basically, we're just going to take this nut off here. Hopefully, be able to wiggle this axle out and do the same here so we can get this chain off. Matter of fact, I got a chain splitter. I might actually use that. You know what? Matter of fact, I might put that on as part of the video because I don't think I've ever shown that off. Let's see, though. Because we want to get everything apart. We want to get the old master cylinder out of here. And that way we can give everything a quick shot of paint. It doesn't look terrible, but it's definitely faded. We might be able to just scrub it down. I don't know. But we got some of the parts in. We got our plastics. We got our tank. We got a kill switch and grips and a few other things. So we're going to get to work on getting this tank off, getting the rest of these plastics off, which it looks like it's just a rusted screw and some bolts underneath it right there. And then we'll go from there. So back in a moment, we'll get more of this off of here. And just for a quick piece of advice, I'm putting everything on, making sure everything fits as it should, because this is cheap stuff. Tolerances are more of a guess than an actual putting everything on correctly. Surprisingly, that wasn't rusted on as bad as I thought it would be. One thing I noticed with the new kit, the number plate mounts differently than the original one. I'm going to have to take a look at some pictures online to see how they are mounted. As you can see, the way it's supposed to, set up against the forks and all that stuff. I guess it goes through there. This should go in there. Might have to trim that down. It's supposed to wrap around this bracket. I don't know. We'll take a look at it. We'll figure it out. It can't be that difficult. I'm sure it was a design change over time. Same with the front fender. Made sure that matches all the holes it's supposed to, which it does. Yeah, I went with red because that's what my son thought would be looking cool. And same with this. All the holes match up for the side pieces here. Different design than what came on it, as you can see. But at least all the bolt holes pretty much line up. We'll get that seat taken off too. There's a ton of screws on there. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a ton of little screws. Hopefully none of them strip out. And we'll get that seat off of there. And we'll go from there. Maybe I'll mount up the plastics on there. That way it's already done. But next thing's next. We'll get this gas tank back off. Putting the screws and bolts back in their original holes so I know where they go. We'll get this off here. We'll get this exhaust off. Once I get the engine out, it'll be a lot easier to adjust the valves for myself and get this stud out of the head here and get that done right. Plus, I'll be able to wash everything and then give everything a quick coat of paint. So let's get this. So let's go ahead with the plan, and we'll go. I'll see y'all in a second. All right. So We've got the carburetor disconnected. The plug is disconnected. It has, well, these two additional wires, which I think are probably set up for lights and starter maybe, or battery, I don't know. We've got these three wires. One's a black, red. One's a blue and white, I think. Yeah, blue and white. And one's a green. And it hooks right up into this wiring harness here, which I zip tied up out of the way. Plus I unplugged the kill switch, which loops right up to there. So we'll take that off a little bit too once we cut these grips off. All it's holding this engine in at this point, well, other than the spark plug there, this bolt here, which I'm kind of hoping I don't have to take the swing arm off, but I might have to take the swing arm off because I get the feeling I'm not going to be able to wiggle that out. Yeah. That's a strong likelihood I'm going to have to, yeah. Well, no, if I take this guard off, yeah, looks like it's got a screw underneath and a screw right there. If I take this guard off, I should be able to slide the bolt out. And that should be the only things holding that engine in. The only other things we got are the mounts underneath it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drain the oil out of this engine because I'm going to be kind of flipping it in upside down and things like that to do all the work I need to do, especially to get this here. Took me a minute to figure this one out. That's an unusual design. The gasket's still up there, but the stud here is bent. It's no big deal. I can pick up new studs or bolts other places. This one's obviously broken up inside, so I'll probably just drill it, tap it, helicoil it maybe. But we'll get to work on getting this off my make-do redneck stand. Drain the engine oil so I can flip it around. Don't have to worry about spilling oil over everything. That way we can finish working on it. So let's get back on the ground and get this engine out. Alright, most of that footage was unusable because my torpedo heater was shockingly loud for the microphone here. So I flipped the motorcycle over, well, dirt bike over. That way I can pull the engine off a lot easier. We'll get this all cleaned up, painted, so it looks nice for all the new fancy plastics. And a new fancy performance exhaust that should give it like no more power than it already has. I've already went ahead and fixed the cylinder down there. Let's see here, the exhaust cylinder. Basically, I drilled out what was left of the old one. I couldn't get it out by extraction, so I drilled it and retapped it for a slightly larger size. Did for the other side because the stud over here was damaged and the thread was damaged too, so it was unusable. So I drilled out both sides, put it up to a 1/4 inch bolt size instead of, I think, 9mm. I'm already over here adjusting the valves. Basically, we got a little notch right there. That is your top dead center mark. And as you can see, it gives a slight movement on the valves. This is intake and exhaust respectively. They are super, super tight. So I'm going to loosen them up. I'm going to put, I don't know, 3/1000 on intake and exhaust. I think the book says 2/1000. That's awfully tight. I'm not sure if I want to go that far, but I'll go 3/1000. It seems to be pretty popular online, 3/1000 to 5/1000. And hopefully that will work out. So we'll go ahead. You guys seen me do this before a bunch of times. Although this one's a little bit unique. It uses a small little notch there. I guess I'll just use pliers. I don't want to use pliers. I don't want to mar that up at all. I don't know if I have anything that's small though. But we'll get this adjusted. Right now it is at top dead center for more or less. Yeah, I think that's top. Yep. Yeah, because I think this is fire right here. This is for the F. And top dead center. So a few degrees before. All right, cool. Let me get these adjusted and hopefully, and then I'll get everything washed up and ready to go. All right. This thing builds so much better compression now. The exhaust valve was super tight. And intake valve was very tight. Couldn't get anything in there. Exhaust took a while before I can actually loosen that up enough. Now when I will bump it over my hand, you can hear air moving through the intake. You hear it suck in. It builds compression now. It popped a little air before. Now I put my finger over it and I push it over my hand. It you can definitely feel the air pushing out now, which wasn't really happening before. So the engine should be good to go. I really feel bad about leaving this cover on for him. The more I look at it, it doesn't look bad when it's on the bike, but man, it looks terrible right now. I might go look to see what a cover is, but I'm gonna get this washed up. I'm gonna take this outside, get this washed up. The tires, I aired them up the other day, and they are holding air just fine. So the tubes are probably all right. I think the next step is to get these wheels off here so I can start cleaning up these rims and getting them painted. Plus I have new brakes that are already in also. But I think that'll be the next thing. We'll get these wheels off, get this thing washed, and lay a little bit of paint down, and then we'll go from there. So we'll see y'all in a minute when I get the when it's light outside. Right now it's dark. We'll do that tomorrow. So we'll catch you in tomorrow or something. Alright, so we're going to get this engine back in here. Obviously I still got the dirt bike upside down. Makes it a little bit easier to install. I'm going to drop it in there. I'm going to locate the top of the engine, which is on the bottom. That way I can get the bolt through there. And it's just going to have to give it a little bit of wiggle. Got the bolt in. And it kind of jams a little bit in where it's supposed to go in the cradle there. But a little bit of working back and forth, you can get the bolt through. And then we're going to get the other bolt. It comes through this side. And like I said, just a little bit of jiggling back and forth to get those holes in alignment. And I'm going to go get some persuasion here. Obviously that's not working. And try it again. And get my big head out of the way. And I took out the top bolt. I'm working on this way. There we go. That bolt's in. And now we're going to get the top bolt in. And slips right in. Perfect. Okay, so engine's back in. Everything's tightened down. The Kickstarter is in place. Wheels have been painted. They look a lot better than that flaking off paint. Basically, I got into a wire wheel. I still have a little bit of tape left over from earlier. Get that off. And just got to paint it up. Found out this brake pad, this caliper is completely ruined too. Looks like there's no pad back here. It's gone. I'm going to have to replace that caliper too. So I'm just going to order the whole rear brake kit. We'll just do that later. Everything's cleaned up. We got the stud in for the exhaust side. Matter of fact, I put a little high temp thread sealer on this one. That way it doesn't rattle itself. But we're ready to flip the bike back over and put it back on the stand. So let's get her flipped around and then we can start getting everything else together on this bike. Basically, we're gonna take off the throttle assembly, which we're gonna have to get rid of the cable here, because we gotta take off the front brake anyways. I mean, that one bolts, you can take it off, but this has got to slide off. But since it's all broken, I don't want to risk an accidental runaway. Plus, I'm gonna take this off and repaint these handlebars anyways. We got the new kill switch too in the box, so we got the new grips in. So we're gonna get all this off, get these handlebars off, and we're gonna get them painted next. While we're doing all that though, we're going to get everything else assembled on this bike. There's really not much else. We got the air cleaner, which is one of these simple little pod filters here. They do a well enough job, I guess. I mean, we're not talking massive longevity out of these bikes, so it keeps it running for a few years perfect. Alright, so what else do I got to do? Get the front fender. Do I want to do the front fender? I'll leave the front fender off because I got to do the front brake anyways later. We're going to get everything else on here. We got to get the chain slider here. I'm waiting for the chain to show up right now. I'm going to leave the rear brake on there just to be in place right now, but this has got to be completely replaced because this caliper is shot. I thought it was just the master cylinder. So we'll go ahead and order that, and hopefully it'll be in sooner rather than later. Got to clean up that oil I leaked. I put, was it like 3/4 to a quart that fills up this engine. Spilled a little bit earlier. I think everything else is good. It's got good compression now. So we're going to get this fuel tank on next. Alright, we're going to get the fuel tank installed here. Make sure mounting holes still line up the way they're supposed to. Grommets are in place. We're going to put a little Loctite on each of the bolts because the dirt bike does vibrate quite a bit. Don't need much more than a couple drops a piece though for the threads. Alright, got the top one done. Now the bottom one is slotted. It makes a little bit difference because I'm sure this fits multiple models of dirt bikes. And as I've said earlier, their measurements are probably more guidelines than exact science. Now be careful not to over tighten. You don't want to completely destroy your grommets there if you over tighten. Alright, so let's get this exhaust on. We got copper crush gasket. That's going to fit right up in the cup of the exhaust port here. Now it's a little bit of tight fit, so I had to push it pretty far in there. But it stays seated once you get it in there. You don't have to worry about it falling back out. At least for this one. Alright, we got the sweet stainless steel race exhaust for a dirt bike that makes 5 horsepower. Gonna slide it right on in. We'll get a washer to spread the load. And we'll get this nut threaded onto the stud. And keep everything up in place, that way we can put the washer and bolt on the other side. And we're gonna put some high temperature thread locker on there. And again, my big old head is in the way. Now these are different than the original. I drilled and tapped this out for 1/4 inch by 20 count thread. So I use a 7/16 wrench to tighten up. I think originally it was 10 millimeter. Alright, we're going to get it somewhat tight in there. Get everything where it's supposed to sit finalized. Alright, so now that we got the exhaust on there, we're going to get this muffler on. It's supposed to slide right onto the exhaust, but it's a pretty tight fit. So I am going to fight with this for a minute. Now you don't want to fight with it too hard and possibly bend the exhaust. So you're just going to wiggle it back and forth and just push it firmly. It will slide onto place. It's just going to be a little bit difficult. There's a set screw right on the end there. I'll show you in a second or a minute here. That I'm going to screw into place. That will keep the muffler on the exhaust pipe. Now we're going to get the exhaust hanger here. It's got a rubber isolator to go on the strap to kind of isolate the vibrations more or less. And you just got to bend it. It comes almost straight. So you kind of have to bend it with your own hands to the right shape around the muffler. And I'm working the tabs there on the end. That way they line up best with the mount on the frame there. So it's a little bit of going back and forth to make it just right. It's not made exactly for this. This is a universal exhaust. So we're going to run the bolt through. And grab the nut and washer, and you're gonna have to hold the bolt in place because that strap's gonna want to let it go. And one last check to make sure everything's in place, that the rubber isolator didn't move it to the side of the strap. Alright, now that's tightened down. We're going to screw in the set screw here. There you go. And you're going to just have to tighten this as hard as you can. It's going to push into the exhaust pipe there. And now give the best possible seal. And we're going to rip off this plastic so when we start the engine it doesn't melt. Alright, we're going to get the plastic set on there. I got the seat already mounted. All the mounts match up perfectly on this. We changed color obviously from green to red. Oh, and there's these hooks here that latch onto the frame. Those hooks go right into those loops over there. And basically, you just push down and slide forward, making sure those hooks grab a hold of the frame. And with the plastics being new, it's going to take a little back and forth just to get them to flex the right direction. I'm trying to get them lined up to the tank holes right now and get that back seat mount for the frame where those 2 bolts go in. But yep, it looks pretty good. Obviously it looks a lot different than being green. We're leaving the plastic on for right now, that way I don't leave any dirty handprints on the plastic. But it's coming together. The exhaust matches with the rest of it. I think it looks pretty good. Alright, we're going to work on getting this throttle cable in there. We're going to slide it through the threaded hole there. It's going to pop right out. This piece helps guide it around the barrel of the throttle tube. Pretty hard not to get it in the right direction. And we're just going to screw this part in here. This is the throttle adjustment here. This will pretty much handle your throttle travel. Do it too tight and it'll cause your idle to go up. Too loose, it'll make the throttle feel sloppy. You just want to thread it as far in as possible to take up for cable stretch over time. Alright, pull the cable through. Get this piece back in there for guiding it. And then we're going to take the barrel here. Basically, the cable's going to go around it. It's the knurl on the end of the cable pops right into a spot right there. And then you just thread the cable through. And then I pulled on the other end of the cable to help guide everything else in. And get the other half on there. I'm going to put the bolts on, the screws in there, and we're going to tighten it, but not too tight, because we do have to slide this on the handlebar here in a moment. So don't go too crazy on it, or you have to loosen it back up again. But don't go too loose that everything comes apart inside the throttle assembly there. Alright, so we're going to slide it on the handlebar here. And just try to guide it in a good way. That way the cable's out of the way. And just try to find a good place for it. You don't want to push it all the way in, because the bar will come out, the handlebar will come out, hit the back end of the grip there, and could cause some throttle issues. But once you got a good location for it, just tighten it up, make sure everything works correctly, in case the cable came off the guide inside. You want to make sure everything works. Now we want to get the cable into the carburetor. This is the top part. You want your lock ring right there. The cable feeds right through the top of the carburetor piece there. You just pull the cable through and push the rubber piece over the throttle cable. That way it seals it. You want to get your spring down there. It locates in a cup, and there's a rubber seal on the top piece there for sealing. And you just got to compress the spring as much as possible. That way you can get this slide here. It goes into this little notch here, and it has a little groove cut into it, and you just drop the spring in. Now the cable does have that little notch there. There's a little piece that sticks out inside the carburetor to guide it, to keep the slide from spinning around inside the carburetor. Make sure you got that right, or the throttle slide can get jammed up in the carburetor. I've actually had that happen before, where it got the throttle would stick every once in a while at full throttle. It has a couple notches in there to guide it to the right location, and then you just want to screw it down. You don't have to go too crazy. It does have a rubber seal on top, so let the rubber seal do its job. There you go. Hey. Alright, so we're going to get this kill switch set up on here. It's got 4 small screws backed with nuts. Be careful when splitting this apart. The kill switch button is spring loaded,
and it might bounce out and cause some issues. When you're putting the screws in there and you put the nut on the back side there, be careful for over tightening. The plastic is soft, so you can end up rounding the nut in there and then create other problems down the road. But make sure you position the kill switch where you need it, where it's easy to hit with the thumb in case you need to shut it off. And that top piece point up, that way if they fall off the dirt bike, it pulls it out and kills the motor, so the motor's not sitting on the side running and potentially causing damage to the motor. But once you got that figured out, screw it down, and then I had to go replace the end of the wire because it didn't have the right end, so I went ahead and soldered the old connector in place, and everything should work just fine. Alright, we're going to work on the front brake here and get this hose clamp off. Alright, we're going to take the bolt out here, I'm going to put the bolt back in a triple clamp so we don't lose it. And I don't want to damage the hose clamp either, because sometimes these kits don't have them, and so it's nice to have for routing. We're going to get this brake caliper off for next. And we're just going to take the whole mounting plate and everything, because the new kit comes with the mounting plate with the caliper and everything. Now, I didn't record putting the brake caliper back on there, but there was something I had to do. I had to add a spacer between the caliper mount here. We'll show in a moment. Here we go. I had to add a spacer in there where I'm pointing to, because the brake caliper was pulled in a little too far and was rubbing the brake pad constantly. So we had to space it out a little bit to give a little clearance.
Alright, so the front brake is on now. I went ahead and bolted down the plastics. You have 2 bolts up under there, right there. And then they got a screw on either side that mounts the plastics to the tank and everything like that. Front brake is on and bled. Nice. Front brakes work really well. Throttle isn't adjusted yet. I haven't messed with the adjustment to make sure that is right. I'll wait till we get it running before we do that, because I gotta get the idle set and everything like that. Everything is plumbed to where it needs to. I had to do some adjustments to the plastics here, because this has got the overhang for going around the head basher pad, but it doesn't reach that far. But it also has the mount to go down in here. So what I did is just used the old bracket, flipped it, painted it, and bolted it into there, so it works for now. It does run. I put some starter fluid in there, kicked it over a few times with my hand, and it fired up, which is always nice. Sounds pretty beastly for how small a motor it is. Exhaust did leak right away. It has a copper crush gasket. So, and you can see this bracket's already starting to bend from tightening. So what I did is I pretty much took my dead blow, smacked it a few times, tightened it, smacked it a few more times, tightened a little bit more. That way it would crush that gasket. And as long as you didn't go too far, you should be able to get it tight like that. Kind of hoping that works. We'll see. Time will tell. I mean, it looks like it's in there pretty solid. So, I think that's basically it. We're just going to wait on the chain on the rear brake. So hopefully next part of this video will be the chain. So the brake is just going to have to wait. Luckily you don't need that a whole lot. And maybe a cover. I really want to replace this cover. Now that the more I look at it, the more the rest of this bike looks good, the more I want to replace that. So we'll see in a second. We'll get this chain on. We'll get this chain in and get this on here. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're on the final stretch of this. We got our new chain in, but we got to cut the length. Best way I've always found is wheel over the front sprocket. Let me get that screwdriver out of the way. On the rear sprocket there. get it through the last guide here. And I always like to leave it on the sprocket so I can line up which one would be the best one. So we're going to take this link out here. Kind of hard to see it on the camera right there, but we're going to take this link right here. I'm going to mark it. Hopefully this will scrub into the metal there. So I know this is the link I got to take out. Yeah, that works. Alright, so we're going to move over to the tool. Use the tool to pop this pin out. And that way we can put this chain on. I kind of hope that was the right length. And then we'll get to adjusting the chain. Matter of fact, let's move the axle in. We're going to just take the adjusters all the way in. So let me just scrub this. So basically they give us this tool with it. It's actually not too bad for a chain tool. We got our link right here. Basically, it comes in two parts. This is your pin driver right here, and this is to hold the link in place. You just pretty much put that over the pin you want to knock out. Then drive your piece down. I'll just give this a quick tighten. Make sure it doesn't move. And this will be the fun part, is driving the pin out. Feel the pin starting to come out. There it goes. Huh, that's actually a pretty handy little tool. I'm gonna hold on to that. Alright, so this is the part we don't need anymore. We'll keep it as spare because we got plenty of master links, and this ain't a high-powered motorcycle, so if you snap a chain, you just cut off the piece you need. And if you have 2 or 3 master links, you have 2 or 3 master links. Let's throw this back on the bike and we'll get this set up. Alright, let's run the chain back on. Oh, come on. There it goes. Alright, run it back through the guide again. Now, the chain is going to be a little bit loose. Don't worry, we'll fix that. We'll get our one link on there. The plate. And then I always like to do mine facing away. This is the way they tell you in the manual too. That way if it catches anything, it doesn't cause the pin to just snap right off, or the master link snapper comes off on there. There we go. Alright. Now we're going to pull the axle out here. Take up some of the drag on here. There we go. Then we just got to get the right amount of play here, which is, I think, should be a 1/2 inch. So we're going to unscrew these bolts evenly on either side. They got a jam nut here. We're going to get a better, closer view once we go to tighten up this. But we got to tighten it up evenly so the tire isn't pulled in one direction. You know, cause the bike to kind of wear weird. So give me a moment. I'm going to get this adjusted to where I'd like it, and I'll show you what I'm doing after that. Alright, so I got the chain all adjusted in. It's a little on the tighter side. I like things, but it's a brand new chain. They tend to loosen up pretty quickly, so it's fine. Basically what I do is, with everything loose on both sides, I pull the axle back as far as I can get it by hand. try to check the tire, use a center line, like these mold creases here, and try to center it up with, well, I'm centered up on the shock mount, but I try to find something to line it up with. So when I'm spinning, I can see where the tire's wobbling at, and just go back and forth to find the largest part of the wobble, and then adjust the axle back and forth. From there, I usually work the chain side first. I'll tighten this bolt up here till it's got enough tension on the chain to where I like it. And I'll flip over to the other side, do the same thing till it's finally touching the plate. And then I'll just go back here and make sure we got no wobble, and try to adjust the wobble out. Once we've got that, I'll tighten up the jam nut on both sides. Check again to make sure, because sometimes when you jam this, use the jam nut here, it'll twist the bolt, especially if you don't have a wrench on there, so it'll throw your adjustment off. Double check, and then if everything's good, tighten up the axle. One more check, and we're good. So that's the chain. I think we are pretty much good for test drives at this point. So give me a moment here, and we'll try to get some things cleared up here, and we'll go with what we're doing next. Alright, so I went ahead and got a new side cover just because that old one was just so damaged and dingy looking. I was hoping to find something a little more extension over the chain. Most of the other ones kind of cut off right around here. Just in case he catches something on his like something from his shoe into the chain. I didn't want it to drag him in. This one had a slight cut out for around the sprocket. This one out didn't really work that well, so I went ahead and opened it up more. That way, the whole swing arm pivot there doesn't interfere with it, and I could cinch it down tight. Looks pretty good, I think, in my opinion. It's a little dirty. Actually, I'm filming this a little time afterwards. I put the cover on there. Also adjusted the shifter down for him to make it easier for him to shift. But there's the cover, and we'll get this thing running so we can show you what kind of noise this dirt bike makes now.
Alright, so we got the engine running here, as you can hear in the background. Still a little bit of exhaust leak. We'll fix that later. Everything runs good. Obviously, it's the old side cover there that I've replaced in the previous partners video. Obviously, it's post-edit. I've already taken it out for a test run for myself, and pretty much it is ready for Christmas Day at this point, so look forward to the next part here. Oh, hey everybody, here it is. Obviously he loves the Christmas present. Suffice to say, it was his favorite Christmas present he got, and he is having a blast. I am recording this video, I don't know, 3 weeks. Well, finishing editing this video 3 weeks after Christmas at this point. Mainly because I got walking pneumonia, and kind of I had no voice there for a while. It is just starting to come back. I didn't include if you notice, there's a lot of different weird breaks in this video. I'm sorry. I just decided to take my son out of the video at the last minute of the work he was doing. Me personally, I just wasn't comfortable with having him in the video. I'm sure most of y'all understand. I'm surprisingly a private person for the most part. That said, he is loving it. It's definitely sealed the deal. I will be probably buying a dirt bike in the next month or so. I'm trying to find a good deal on one that I can fix up for another video. Sure. And we'll see where that goes. I'm starting to find some good deals out there, and we'll work on it, because I kind of want to get back into riding dirt bikes now too, and he has been riding this every minute he can, and I've been loving every part of it. So without further ado, I'm just going to leave the rest of this video of him riding back and forth so you can get a good idea what the dirt bike sounds like, and basically him enjoying his Christmas present, which is the best part of it all. Again, thank you all for stopping by and watching my videos. Please feel free to let me know what you think, thought process, things I could have done better, things I could have done differently. I would greatly appreciate it. That said, we'll see you all next time.